Welcome to another session of Cassadara Learning, the series for software development for non-technical people. So today's topic is going to be single dimensional arrays in Java. All right, let's go. Before getting into today's session, I would like to remind you some points. So the first one is fundamental data types are used to allocate and store various types of data such as integers, characters in memory. We know that, right? So we saw about fundamental data types like char, int, float, double, etc., which basically allocates a specific size of memory in order to store specific types of data, right? And then we also saw that any data needs to be stored in memory. So that we can easily process that data while the execution of the program. It will be easily available for processing. So these are the two things that we saw. Remember, even while adding two numbers, we allocated two variables a, b, and then we stored that number in a, b so that it can be easily accessible while adding. So we said c equal to a plus b. So when the process does, it takes the value from the memory and processes it instead of reading from the file. That way, it is easily accessible, and the program execution will be faster. So every time, if you want to read from a file from the storage, then it becomes a tedious process, right? So instead, we keep it in memory, in the temporary memory area, and then process. So that is where the memory allocation comes into picture. So hope you understood this concept. Now, based on this, we are going to see the concept of arrays. What is an array? So an array, think about it, if we wanted to store a set of same type of data, say for example, a set of characters or a series of numbers. Like set of characters meaning if you want to store your name itself, for example. So a name is a set of characters, right? Set of same type of data, that is character. So if I want to store a name, I need a set of characters. Similarly, if I want to store a series of numbers like let's say first 10 even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, something like that, then we need a same type of data like repetitively. So for this sets, to process data in sets, we need to allocate memory continuously, right? So memory needs to be continuously allocated for faster access. Think about it. If you're storing your name, let's say Ram, R is in one place, A is in another place, and M is in some other place in the memory, then it becomes tedious to read character by character from the memory from various locations. Instead, if they are continuously allocated, then it will be easy to read next, first location, next location, next location, like a set of data, right? So this is where the need for continuous allocation for faster access of memory comes into place. Okay, so now, and you have to understand this allocation cannot be of infinite size. Like you cannot create a memory continuous allocation of infinite size, like, right? You need to define a size. If you want to store a name, okay, maybe 20 characters, 30 characters. If you want to store a sentence, maybe 100, 200 characters. If you want to store a paragraph, maybe 500,000 characters. If you want to store an entire page, maybe 2,000, 3,000 characters. But if you want to store unlimited amount of characters, then this arrays will not work, right? We need the arrays can be, because it's a continuous allocation in memory, at some point we will hit a location where some of the memory is already used or something like that. So in that case, will not be able to continue the allocation. So generally they don't use arrays for that kind of data. Like say for example, you are typing a huge document in Word or something and you have to type a numerous number of pages, 5,000 pages. You don't know how many pages it is going to take when you are writing a book or something like that. So in that case, if you want everything to be loaded into memory and processed, then arrays won't work. So it cannot be of infinite size, it needs to be of a definite size. You have to specify the size when you define an array. So how can we define it? Let us see. Okay, arrays, since it's a continuous allocation and it is going to, we allocate the arrays to store a definite set of data, right? So for that, we can do it like this. Say for example, a character array can be defined like char arr open close square brackets equal to, then followed by each character constant that we are going to allocate like this. So each character will be separate constant. We are enclosing them in a quote, single quote, right? So the define a definite set of character array. Similarly, an integer array can be defined as like this: int arr open and close square brackets equal to, in square bracket, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Right? So now, if I want to create an empty space and from the user and store it in the array, in that case, I want to define a elements of array. So in that case, we define like this: new is the keyword to allocate memory. Okay, new char of new is a keyword to allocate memory. So dynamically it will allocate memory of the provided size. So now we say new char 6, which means what it will do is it will allocate a memory of character type and the size of the array, that is the number of characters you can store in that array is 6. Get it? arr square brackets equal to new int of. So this is how you define an array. Is this clear? Right. So now I'll tell you how to access a particular character in the array. So if you want to take, you take this array, you want to take a specific character and assign it into a character variable x, then you have to say char of x equal to arr of 0, which means 0 defines the index of the first character. So it assigns g to the variable x. So it takes, if I say char y equal to arr of 2, then it takes the n. Why is to n? Because it starts with 0, which is g, and then 1 and 2. So n is, the index of n is 2 here. So in that case, when I say arr of 2, it will assign variable y. And what if I say arr of 6? So in this case, the index of g is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 is there in the array. So in this array arr, you are trying to access the 6, index 6, which is the 7th element. Throw an exception which will stop the program from working. It will throw an exception and terminate the program execution. Okay, so we will see this exceptions, how to avoid this kind of exceptions and all in the future chapters, but in general we will not do that. So if your array contains 6 characters or 6 numbers, you will access it by saying ARR of 0 to ARR of 5. Remember that. Okay, I'll explain you how to avoid such exceptions and all that in the later chapters. Why is this 0 to 5 instead of, we can say 1 to 6, right? Why is this 0 to 5? So to understand that, we should understand the concept of address in the memory. So what is an address? Address, you know what is an address. What is your home address, right? So your home contains a specific address for unique identification of your location. Similarly, each byte of the memory will have a number allocated to it so that it can. That is how the memory manager of the operating system manages the memory. So for each byte, it will have a number. It will address each byte with a number of 6 characters. Every character is 2 bytes, right? So 6 characters means 12 bytes. If the address starts with a specific number, then for each byte it will add 1 to it, and then for each byte it will add 1. So that is how it will move ahead, right? So now we'll see how this address works. So let us say we have a content. Okay, so in that case, what happens is, it is allocated in memory like that, which has 6 continuous locations in memory, where the starting address, let us assume the starting address of the G is 100, then G will be 100, 101, A will be 102, 103, N will be 104, 105, D will be 106, 107, H will be 108, 109, I will be 110, 111. So I will be 110. The end address, the starting byte address will be 110. See the address. Now what will happen is, when I assign like this, when I define an array like this, it will define a variable in the memory itself called ARR, and it will take the start address and assign. To define an array, it will have the start address of that array. So ARR will have 100 in this case. How do I print n when I say ARR of 2? ARR of 2 will return n because it accessed by calculating based on the starting address. How does it calculate? Like this. 2 here. So it takes the start address 2 into the size of the type. The type is character, so the size of type is 2. So index is 2. 2 into 2 is 4, and it will add that 4 to the start address, which is 104. So it will go to n, and then it will return n. Since it's a character, it will read 2 bytes and return it, which means it will return the character n. That is how it calculates. Hope you understand the concept of address. So remember that each byte of the memory will have a address and it is continuously allocated number. This is how the calculation happens, and then it retrieves that particular value. Hope you get this idea. So before going into summary, I'll show you some exercise of how to define, access and print arrays. Let us see a demo of how this arrays work in action. Okay. So now if you look at my screen, I had defined a class called array demo, and I had input asked for a number of characters to be entered as input, and then I had defined an array of the size, which means an empty array, because I am using new, an empty array of type character of size A, okay, which means the number of characters I am inputting here. Say for example, if I input 5, it will allocate and it will allocate a character array of size 5, right? Now I need to fill this array with the characters I input. So I say system.out.println enter the characters. And to input, I need to get input repetitively for the number of times, for a number of times. How many number of times? The number of times I got the input, right? So for the size of the array, like each and every character I need to input and put it inside the array continuously, right? So for that I'm going to use, for repetition we use for loop, right? Number of times for loop. So I say for int I equal to 0, I less than a, I plus plus, which will increment from 0 to a minus 1. Okay, now inside the for loop I say name of I, that is that particular array location. So first I will be 0, so the name of 0 equal to, I'm going to assign value into that location. Okay, so name of I equal to, I say scanner dot next dot char at 0, which means the first character in whatever I am typing. I am taking the first character because I am going to type only one character here, right? For each element I am going to type one. So I take the first character. So when I close this for loop, it would have iterated a times, and it would have gotten so many characters input and then put it in the name of I, which means in that particular location, right? So for let's say, I'll explain you clearly. See, if a is 3, now I will be 0, I less than 3, yes. So it will come in name of 0 equal to, I enter the value r, so it will store r, name of 0 will be r. Then it again goes, it will check, it will increment, it will go again and check. So now I value will be 1, I less than a, yes. again it will come for input. Now I say A, so name of 1 will be A, and then again it will increment. Now I will be 2, I less than A is true, so it will again come in. So name of 2 will be M. Okay, after that I will be 3. Now it will check I less than A. No, because I is 3, A is 3, it is equal, it is not less than. So it will go out of the loop. Now name array will have 3 characters R, A and M. I have assigned the size of A, right? So A, obviously it will have 3 elements in the array and all the 3 will be filled with R, A and M. Correct? Alright. So now the array is filled. I need to print this. Again I need to use. For this I am going to use a different type of for loop. See this. For this I am going to use a different type of for loop for char x colon name. Since name is of definite size, we need not specify how many times we need to iterate here. We just say the name and then the character where each time the character needs to be assigned. So it will be assigned in X. So first time R will be assigned to X, the second time A will be assigned to X, and third time M will be assigned to X. So now I just need to print the X. So I simply say system.out.ln. I'm just saying print because ln will add a new line every time I print it. So if I use println, it will be R, below that A, below that M. Instead of I say print, it will be RAM. It will print like a name. Let us see. I've closed the loop. Now the main is closed and the class is closed, so I save it. I'm going to run this program. The program had compiled without errors. Now I run it. I say 5. Say enter the characters. I say T, A, N, A, T. And it prints the characters. The program ends. So this is how you use an array. Let us go back to the summary. So what had we seen today? We had seen that arrays are continuous allocation of memory of same type of data. We saw how they are defined and accessed. So if I want to assign a constant set of characters or numbers, we do it in a different way. If we are going to allocate an empty set of memory, then we will use the new keyword. We also understood the concept of memory addressing. We understood that every byte in the memory will be assigned an address, and that is how the memory manager of the operating system manages each location to allocate the array and access it. So we use a formula like starting address plus the index into the size of the data type. That is how we access a particular location. That's all, guys. Hope you enjoyed this session. If you have any queries, please post it in the comments. I'll definitely reply and clear your doubts. If required, I will also have a special live session to clear your doubts. please do practice. For this arrays, I'm going to give you a specific exercise you need to practice. It will be very interesting. Okay, so now what you're going to, like how we assigned the name, you input the characters, specific characters of, let's say, size 7, right? So you input 7, you write the same program, you input 7, and then you input 7 characters to it. Now the array has 7. Now what you have to do is you have to check if the characters in the array form a palindrome. You know what a palindrome is, right? Palindrome is something which, if you read from front to back, like say for example the word I gave, like tenet, T-E-N-E-T. If you read from beginning to end, it will be tenet. If you read in the reverse, that is from end to beginning, it will be the same. So those kind of words are called palindrome. So what you have to do is, after inputting, you have to print the word, and then also you should say if that particular word is a palindrome or not. Can you try this exercise and let me know if you had completed? All right. Thank you guys. See you in the next session. Bye.